Greetings one and all, Musto0063 here to start another classic Mega Man project. In the year 20XX AD, the first annual robot tournament was held, with 8 of the world's most powerful robots. But Mr. X, the sponsor of the tournament, took control of the robots and began to take over the world. Mr. X, why? It's time to tell you the truth. I've been manipulating that fool, Dr. Wily, from the beginning. But now I no longer need Dr. Wily's help. Come and face my power, Mega Man. We'll stop you. Follow me, Rush. And that's the intro to Mega Man 6, the last true NES game in the series. A quote-unquote new villain has emerged behind the scenes, and who'da thunk it? Dr. Wily was just a pawn, being manipulated all this time by the mysterious Mr. X. Anyways, here's our wonderful looking new Robot Master board. And due to the way this game works, I'm not going to be taking on stages according to my perceived perfect run difficulty order. I'll explain all in due course, but that means first up is the flower fancier himself, Plant Man. And Mega Man 6's Robot Master stats, including their attack strength, defensive capabilities and mobility, are provided. To be honest, pretty meaningless since you can't do anything about them, and they're certainly not worth keeping in mind when you're fighting them, but a nice little touch. So we arrive in a forest, possibly a rainforest given our location, Brazil, and are set upon by a bunch of bug and frog type enemies, which can be difficult to hit on occasions, so time your place your shots well. Neither have much health though. This is a power slam. It appears many times throughout the game, and your preferred strategy will differ depending on the terrain. Here I like to just slide under it and then rush for the ladder, given that I can't quite kill the thing before it would otherwise reach me. With regard to these propeller eyes, make sure you attack them when the eye is exposed. Your shots will just bounce off its shell otherwise. And as you can see, they home into where you're positioned at the time they start moving, then they keep travelling along that path until they close up on you. Anything good for me, Eddie? With that emphatic no, let's move on. The first of 2 sub-bosses of the stage, the Gorilla Tank. This one I'll talk attacks. He has 2. One to shoot 5 pellet shots in a spread pattern, and one to fire a fist at you. The pellet spread shot attack is the tricky to deal with. You need to time a jump in between likely the second and third pellets, but they do kite you quicker than you might think, and it's easy to screw up. The fist, provided it's not right on top of you, you should be able to jump easily over, and sometimes you needn't even do that. There are more of the difficult to hit bug and frog type enemies, and the stage introduces a new gimmick, although this is just a taster of what's to come. Oh, and I figured I'd replenish my health here. I need to lose it immediately straight away afterwards. Glorious. Anyway, back to the gimmick. Mega Man bounces on these coils, and if you hold down the jump button, he jumps higher. Not something you want to do there, what with those ceiling spikes, so make sure you are not holding the jump button through that segment. For the second Gorilla Tank, let's talk strategy. His weak point is his head, and from time to time you want to hit his treads, since this forces him back and stops him closing in on you toward the left hand side of the screen. Proximity of the pellet shot attack in particular makes it much harder to avoid, so I guess an ideal strategy here is to divide your attention on attacking the head and their treads, but not focusing too much on either one. So here's the trickiest part of the stage, no question. The bouncy coils combined with pits, all the while they're being pit and jet bug enemies that seem to always be in your way. Oh, did I mention cannon enemies whose slow-moving projectiles are also seem to be always in your way. This section can be a pain just to get through at all, let alone on a perfect run. You need to master manipulating Mega Man's jump height off the coils. These platforms, by the way, you shoot once and they open up, but don't jump on them unless you've shot them. Back to the coils, there will be times when you want Mega Man to just do a tiny hop, and others when you want him to jump sky high. Also, generally, I'd always anticipate there being a pit enemy, so that means getting close to it to trigger the enemy jumping out, shooting it, and then quickly traversing the pit. And oh, the cannons bounce as well, so the projectile heights could also vary. Yeah, this section is just nasty, no two ways about it, and in my opinion actually makes Plant Stage the trickiest of the Robot Masters. You'll probably find you need to practice it a bit before you can become confident at dealing with everything that's thrown at you. But not exactly unscathed, but that is the level behind us. A flashy entrance, and it's time for our first Robot Master. Now, Plant Man's one of the easiest of the entire classic series, so you should never really... Dang it! Okay, he's not quite Toad Man, but that was dreadfully timed on my part. And I know I've been showing off Robot Masters without charging the Mega Buster or using weapons during their stages, but I'd already got hit, I wasn't going to get an accidental perfect run, and I didn't want this fight taking about 1 3/4 minutes. So, with apologies for the screeching noise, I've used charged Mega Buster shots here, simply to speed this fight along. I will of course take him out in a perfect fashion later. This was the first Mega Man 6 Robot Master stage, so surely that's not a spoiler. But for now, let's just not drag things out, shall we? There's our new weapon get animation. And our new weapon get screen, along with a demonstration of how the weapon works. It's a shield, like most of them, it's not very useful. Moving on. I also got the Rush Jet adapter, and it's the reason why I took on Plant Man first. So, like I said, I hope that I hadn't spoiled the surprise over whether or not I could get a perfect run success on this stage, what with it being the first and all. So with that, bring on the black and white goodness. So, Plant Man stage is looking a lot less green all of a sudden, isn't it? Bad punt aside, it's perfect run time, where as always, I'll be pointing out what parts of the stage cause me problems, and maybe provide an extra insight or two along the way. Remember the perfect run rules, of course: no weapons, charge shots, or rush use unless forced. Nothing troublesome thus far, and this power slam provided little opposition. Here I was actually quick enough to kill it, but even if you can't, you should have enough time to slide under it. Now this is a fairly easy room as long as you don't panic. Take out the cannon first off, then worry about the propeller eyes, but they're pretty slow and predictable and didn't give me any trouble. That's much better, Eddie. Since those of you who've been watching from as far back as Mega Man 1 will know that 1-ups, for me, proved to be a good luck charm. Now the Gorilla Tank is the first real troublesome part of the level, and yes, I messed up on it from time to time. Always the pellet spread shots, and always when he was too close to me, thus leaving me little room to dodge them. There were a couple of rather irritating mess-ups on this screen. One time I got caught completely unawares by the bug-type enemy hiding in a tree, and the other time I was really clumsy in trying to hit one of the frog-type enemies. You just saw that then, even this time around, and I had some fun trying to hit the first one. So watch out here: a bug in the tree, a frog in the grass hiding from plain sight, and spikes on top of coils. When you know they're there though, this screen's easy enough. Not much else to say about Gorilla Tank 2, it's exactly the same as the first, and my outtakes were somewhat expectedly spread out fairly evenly across the two. Probably worth a brief comment that he was especially nice during this battle. He only did the pellet shot attack once, and it was in the first few seconds when he was furthest away from me. Good Gorilla. So, time for the screen of death. I hate this screen when going for a perfect run. Everything is just in the way. I remember that jet beetle there made me audibly exclaim the first time I reached this far in the level. Be prepared to shoot it. Beyond that, well, what didn't trip me up? The platforms need to shoot to open, and maybe that's about it. The pit enemies hit me, the cannons hit me, more jet beetles hit me. This section is a complete pain. Though, I'm not going to lie, it caused many outtakes, and I think ultimately having a good memory serves me very well for this sort of thing. Knowing when I needed to react to certain things made this a little less fraught. Having said that though, as I've said before, in my opinion, this is the toughest part of any of the Robot Master levels to get through unscathed. But thankfully, I've made it. And fortunately, it's only Plant Man waiting for us beyond the boss gate, and he has an extremely easy pattern. Head for a corner as quick as you can. Jump over his plant barrier, and head for the same corner. When he moves towards you, he will always stop short before clashing into you and jump. Sometimes he jumps towards you, sometimes away. But the angle in which he does so means that provided you're in one of the corners, you won't get hit by him. And now you can perhaps see why I resorted to charged Mega Buster shots during the Let's Play version. I'm not sure exactly how long we've been going for the moment, but he's barely even halfway dead. So yeah, after a certain point, this just becomes a battle of attrition, whereby you're desperate not to lose your focus and mistime a jump over that plant barrier. As you can see, the pattern is simple. There's absolutely nothing to it. But a sudden loss of concentration and you've blown it, meaning you'll have to redo the level again. If you could only get more than one shot in per plant barrier to slightly speed things along, that would be great. But sadly there just doesn't quite seem enough time, although I'm sure experts could pull it off. 1 3/4 minutes total this fight took. I'm pretty sure I don't even need to double check all other Robot Master battles to know that this was the longest of my Perfect Run fights. And believe me, by this point in time, I was just praying that I didn't have to sneeze. So we're off and running with Mega Man 6. And don't expect these stats to be all that nice. As I said, for most Mega Man games, I did the perfect runs in order of my perceived difficulty in clearing them. But thanks to needing to use the rush adapters for certain stages, and Plant Man giving me the Jet one, he was up first. 45 minutes is how long it took to get the perfect run on Plant Man. I don't think that's too bad, given for me, Plant has probably the trickiest level to get through unscathed. Within that time, I racked up 18 outtakes, and fortunately, unlike my Let's Play attempt, no screw-ups on the Robot Master. The level, on the other hand, that really is nasty. A lot of the enemies are hidden, for instance the bugs in the trees, or difficult to hit for one reason or another. There's also 2 Gorilla Tank sub-bosses to deal with, which, depending on how often he shoots the pellet shots at you, aren't always the easiest things to get by. And then there's the coil and pit section at the end of the level, which was the cause of most of my failures. I'm sufficiently confident that I can get through without dying, so falling or getting knocked into a pit, but getting through without getting hit at all is quite the challenge. Mastering jump heights will be essential here, although it certainly doesn't hurt memorising when certain enemies, like the jet bugs or the bouncing cannons in particular, are going to appear. Believe me, after enough attempts, that's what I naturally ended up doing. But thankfully, it's only Plant Man waiting for you after clearing the level, or the stage overall would be considerably harder. Head for a corner as quick as you can, jump over his plant barrier, and head for the same corner. Lather, rinse, and repeat. The only thing that might trip you up is the loss of concentration, as perfecting with uncharged Mega Buster shots does take almost 2 minutes. Thanks to, in particular, that final section of the level, I can't report my mood being especially mellow. I found it especially frustrating getting so close to the boss gate, only for something in the coil and pit section to catch me completely off guard. I mean, I wasn't in the realm of getting overly angry, but for the first time, for all other first Robot Masters, I was pretty happy. There was more than a tinge of annoyance. Plant Man gets a 4 out of 10 from me. Both the time it took and outtakes wise, the stretch between the second Gorilla Tank and the boss gate are what helped bump up this rating. Not one I would ordinarily take on first, but he's out of the way, and he wasn't ridiculously difficult. So, with one foot firmly planted in Mega Man 6, that's the end of this video. Time to stop horsing around and get serious for the next Robot Master. Till then, cheerio.